Hey everybody, John Van Dyke here for New Jersey Exposed. Today is Thursday, September 18th, 2025. The time is 3:38 p.m. And yes, what time is that? If you said Jersey time, then I know you've been watching my channel, because that's where I'm at. I'm in Jersey, not New Jersey, Jersey. That's how we residents of New Jersey refer to our state, as Jersey. All right, we got another one of those hero stories where they cost the taxpayers a lot of money and no accountability for its actions. This is reported on The Patch. It came out on, what day was that came out? Let's see. That was Friday, September 12th. It was updated on Sunday, September 14th. And it reads as follows. Middletown Township settles lawsuit over teen's water gun arrests. There it is. And, of course, I will put the link in the description for you if you want to read the thing yourself. All right, let's find out what this well-trained professional here, always out there risking our lives, has been up to. All right, Middletown Township settles a lawsuit over teen's water gun arrests. Middletown Township agreed to settle a lawsuit with a woman who sued the police department and some of its employees after she alleged a deputy police chief improperly used his position to arrest and detain her 14-year-old son after he shot the police officer's son with a water gun. Now, let me just say something. I think it's later on in the thing, but it wasn't just a water gun. I think it had frozen water pellets or something in it. Anyway. Lisa Cordova of Middletown initially demanded $5 million in her suit. Well, who's your lawyer? First of all, that's ridiculous. $5 million. You weren't shot. You didn't lose any teeth. You didn't get any bones broken. So that was a ridiculous amount. She alleged former Middletown Deputy Police Chief John Kaiser, who I do not know, never met, misused his police power to arrest her teenage son after he shot Kaiser's son with a toy water gun. Middletown Township agreed to settle with Cordova for $85,000. Now, that does include the fees that it cost Middletown to defend this thing that they paid out to their lawyer. Paying her that amount to resolve the case out of court, said Brian Nelson, Middletown Township's attorney. Kaiser, a longtime Middletown Police Department employee, retired last week, effective September 1st. Now, I want you to pay close attention to what I'm going to read here. He had been on paid leave before his retirement, where he was paid his base salary of $184,922 for multiple months of not working. Just before his retirement, his leave was unpaid. Kaiser retired last Monday after being employed by Middletown Township for 28 years. He was first hired by the township in 1997. Upon his retirement, he would be paid a compensated absence benefit package totaling $172,094, according to town records. The lawsuit filed in July 2024 also named Middletown Police Chief R. Craig Weber. Now, he did appear in one of my videos I did a couple of years ago. It had to do with a Trump rally that was taking place, and I happened to go out there. It was freezing cold that day. But Chief Weber was all right with me. I didn't have a personal issue with him at that time, or any time for that fact. Although Cordova later dropped her complaint against the county prosecutor. Who the hell was her lawyer? You got to sue the prosecutor? Stupid. According to Cordova's lawsuit, on July 28, 2022, her son was playing with his toy water blaster with other boys in an unnamed Middletown park. The water gun had frozen ORB balls in it, which he shot at the deputy chief's son. I wonder if that's those little, you know, you go to like 7-Eleven, a freezer, they got those little cups and they got little frozen, I don't know what they are, frozen marshmallows or something. I don't know. I don't eat that crap. The boy went home and informed his father, John Kaiser, the deputy chief of Middletown Township Police Department, of the above activities, read her lawsuit. Kaiser, at the time, off duty from his law enforcement job, raced to the park in his official Middletown Township Police Department undercover vehicle and commenced off-duty action in unlawfully detaining the teen against his will and seizing the toy water blaster. Why didn't he not call headquarters and have a marked unit show up? Cordova said Kaiser detained her son, searched him, and then forcibly handcuffed him behind his back and took him to Middletown Police Headquarters for interrogation. Now, I thought when they interrogate juveniles like that the parents have to be brought in, but I don't know that for a fact. Cordova's lawyer said Kaiser's treatment of the teen violated standard operating procedures for the arrest of a juvenile. Upon arrival in Middletown Township Police Department, the teen was brought into the station, told to stand, his face pressed against a hardened surface, read the lawsuit. He was not offered an opportunity to use the bathroom facilities, not offered any water or any other food, nor was he asked about his medical, physical, or mental well-being by the defendants. Cordova said she immediately arrived at the Middletown police station, demanded to speak with her son, and was informed he was being interviewed by Middletown police. Several hours later, the 14-year-old was released to his parents. On August 4th of the same year, the teen's father, Alejandro Cordova, filed a formal complaint against Middletown police for the treatment of his son during the arrest. Criminal charges were filed against Cordova's son on August 17th of that year. The 14-year-old was charged with 2 counts of assault, 1 count of possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose, and 1 count of unlawful possession of weapons. This is ridiculous. And I'm sure this is probably retaliation for going and filing a complaint. The teen pleaded guilty in a juvenile delinquency proceeding. Cordova's lawyer said Kaiser and other Middletown police officers unlawfully used their police powers to execute some form of punishment against the teen for his use of a toy water blaster involving Deputy Chief Kaiser's son. The family also alleged their son was arrested because of his Hispanic ethnicity. Middletown Township did not admit any wrong. Of course not. They never. That's the whole purpose. They pay you off. They admit no wrongdoing, and often they'll try to get you to sign a non-disclosure clause on it. In his response to the lawsuit, Kaiser denied nearly all allegations Cordova made against him. He only admitted he did respond to the incident in the park that day. Kaiser's lawyer was Michael Collins of Red Bank. Neither he nor Kaiser nor Cordova's lawyer Hugo Harmatz of Colts Neck commented for this story. Well, people, are you thinking the same thing I'm thinking? You got a 14-year-old. He's hanging out with his friends. He's got this water blaster. I don't know what it is. I'll look it up and put a picture of it in here while I'm doing this video. They're acting stupid. They're being 14-year-olds. You know, 14-year-olds aren't the smartest thing in the world. They're kids, you know, and something happens. The way to handle that problem is for one father to call up the other father and say, hey, you know, your kid's got a water blast and he shot my kid with some frozen ice pellets or something, whatever the hell it was. And, you know, you need to address this. End of story. That's what a normal human being would do. A normal, rational father would do. That's what I would do. Period. Either that or I go get my son a water blast and give him some pellets and go shoot the other guy. But it's just bullshit. So this cop, this retired cop, sponging off the taxpayers for how many years? 27 years? Uses his power and does a retaliation on this to screw up the kid and put all these charges. For what? For stupid kids teenagers acting stupid? You know, this shows you what kind of person this Kaiser guy was. Now, somebody I know that worked over Middletown, now retired, I asked him, I said, what's the story of this guy? You know him? Is he all right? Is he a nut? And he goes, nah, he seems like an all right guy. He's always been friendly. I said, well, you know, these psychopaths, they're nice when you're watching them, they're nice. And when you're not watching, they're not so nice. So here we go. So he went, because his poor little son probably thinks his son's more special than everybody else, because this is how narcissists are. Everything about them is special. So if that's the narcissist's son, he must be special too. And how dare you do something like that to my special son? And cause all that bullshit for that kid and for that family. And that family had to go out and hire an attorney and fight this damn thing. And I guess they settled on, they pled out on that deal. I mean, he's a minor, and at 18, those charges don't matter anymore anyway. But, he goes and does his stuff, hosts his kid, does all these things, doesn't notify the parents or nothing until they get to headquarters. And the question is, did the deputy chief have a body cam on? Probably not. Does his unmarked car have a camera? Probably not. So, it comes down to my word against your word, and we know whose word the bootlickers will listen to. So anyway, long story short on it, this guy, he's up for retirement, or maybe he retired because of this. He accumulated time off, so he sits there on his ass for the last few months collecting that money, and then when he leaves, he's getting more money. This is bullshit. Where was the accountability for this? There was no accountability. This is the problem, folks. And Middletown Township Police, they never once posted this on their Facebook, but boy, when you do something, they have no problem plastering your face and telling the story on their Facebook, but they kept it quiet. And, I didn't find out about it till somebody told my friend, who then texted over to me the story, and we find out about this. So, no accountability. Once again, what's the message to police? Well, you can violate people's rights. You can screw up, and don't worry about it. Taxpayers will pay for it. Nobody will say anything except for that annoying guy, Gunnison Undercover, New Jersey Exposed. He'll run his mouth about it, but nobody will say anything, and he'll just get lost in the rest of the clutter out there. And this deputy chief will ride off into the sunset with his 6-figure pension, and who's the winner in this situation? Well, the lawyers are the winners. That's really the winner here. That woman got $85,000. I mean, how much did she have to pay out in the law to prosecute the lawsuit, and how much she had to pay out to defend her son? So how much money did she really walk away with? And you have to pay taxes on that money, by the way, folks. So there you go. Another hero costing the taxpayers $85,000. Plus the legal fees that the town had to pay the town lawyer to defend this case. And then, of course, they settle out of court. Nobody admits any guilt. And once again, just another story of the million stories out there of the bullshit that goes on in law enforcement, that goes on in government, local government particularly, that there's no accountability. And this is why the problem just continues to go on and on and on. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe. If you're new here, thank you for subscribing. If you've been subscribed for a long time, thank you for following me and watching. I appreciate it. Share this video. Let everybody know. We got to have a conversation about this. If we have to talk about this, we can't let these blue cockroaches get away with it. You have to expose them. One thing I've learned, I'm sure you people have learned too, they don't like exposure. When you give them exposure and the phone starts ringing and people start clobbering their Facebook page, all of a sudden you start to get a little reaction out of them and start getting a little, I don't want to say holding them accountable, but anyway, we get action out of these people. They start doing something. But until you expose the blue cockroaches, it's just to them, it's just the cost of doing business. No money out of their pockets. It's always out of the taxpayers' pocket. And this is why we either have to end qualified immunity or we have to modify it so that a case like this, I always said that, okay, the taxpayers hired him, signed off on him. So we have to take a little responsibility in what he does, but he has to have a dog in a fight. So I would say, my world, I'd like to see them be 50% responsible for this. So that way, $42,000 to $500 would have come out of his pocket. And, of course, I also get the other thing from cops. Well, if you do that, nobody wants to be a cop. Yeah, they'll be a cop. There's always going to be somebody out there that wants to be a cop. They just have to go out and get liability insurance. I know a teacher I talked to one time. I've told the story before. He said he has liability insurance in case something happens and he gets sued. And this is what needs to take place. These cops all should have a liability insurance and be responsible for 50% of what they did, period. But here in New Jersey, we have there's very strong police unions, and couple that with the bootleggers who outnumber us, unfortunately, right now, that it's probably going to be a long time coming before they're ever personally held accountable. I'm John Van Dyke for New Jersey Exposed. Let me know what you think in the comments. Till next time, people.